can get better at being relaxed. You can get better at maintaining awareness and knowing the difference between that and the reality that thinking gives you. Thinking gives you a reality. And as a psychologist, I often say here, and this is how I bring people in, if you learn to practice meditation and you do it consistently, like every single day, and you study the technique and you develop a deeper understanding of how the technique works, it will be psychotherapeutic. You will be in psychotherapy if you do that. You will become your own psychologist because you'll become aware of how fear is driving your life. You'll become aware of it. You'll start noticing fearful thoughts. You'll start noticing fear when you're feeling fear in your body. Yeah. You'll start seeing how neurotic you are as a human being. For example, when people practice meditation, if there's noise that it's outside the room, a thought might arise in your mind, oh, I can't focus my attention, that's distracting me, right? Over the years that I've been teaching here, there have been people that have come to the class, that's exactly what they say. Too much distraction, I can't focus my attention. Well, that's because you're relating to what the sound is, not as a sound, but as an interpretation of a sound. Because any noise that happens outside this room is just sound. It's sound, right? But when it goes in your ear and your brain processes it, the brain says that's a distraction. Turns a sound into a distraction. Once it's a distraction, now you can't focus your attention because your understanding of that word means that you can't focus your attention. It's distracting you. When in reality, it's actually not a distraction, it's a sound, right? So you're practicing letting sounds be sounds, not distractions. So you're practicing learning that to live your life as a thought process is a life that will involve a lot of suffering. Most of what you suffer from is your thinking, is it not? Yeah, most of what you suffer from is what you think about things causes suffering. What you think about other people, what you think about yourself, what you think about life, what you think about what's happening around you. When you're driving your car, what you think about the car in front of you because they're in your way. All these interpretations about everything, right? And so the life you're living is a life that constantly it's a life that's constantly being met with a machine brain that's got programming running, and it constantly takes everything that's happening in the world and interprets it into, I like it, I don't like it, it's good, it's bad, it should be, it shouldn't be, right? And that's constantly running. And when you identify with that, you think you're thinking those thoughts. So then you're the bad guy, you're the judge, you're the evaluator, right? But one of the things you learn from these teachings and practices, maybe one of the most important things you learn, is that voice in your head is not you, right? You're not your brain. You're not your conditioning. You're not the voice in your head. Although most people live their life with that being an assumed truth. Most people consider the voice in their head to be them. You don't question what you think, do you? Right? Not only do you not question what you think, but left to the regular devices that operate for people, not only do you not question what you think, you believe what you think is true. If you really stop and take a serious look at that, you believe what you think is true, that's sick. That's crazy to believe what you think is true. A lot of what you think comes from the conditioning that you experienced as a child, right? Comes from the things you believe, comes from the things that you learned. And one of the things that must be more obvious today than it ever was, that what you believe is true, what you think is true, and what is true are two different things. That's why the word truth means something, because what's true, if there's something called truth, there must be something that's not true. And what we find out through the practice of meditation and through studying the teachings that are the foundation of the practice is that most of what we consider to be real is not real. Most of what we consider to be true is not true. No wonder there's problems. No wonder people are crazy. No wonder there's so much stress. No wonder people are so ineffective in the way they're living their life. Most people can't do anything that they don't feel like doing. I'm not just saying that. If you look in your own life, if you study my stepson, If you study my stepson, you'll see somebody who only does what he feels like doing, right? It's like that's what a teenager is, right? They only do what they feel like doing, right? So that limits your life. If you don't feel like doing something, and that's all you need to have it be the case that you don't do it. Another thing that determines people's behavior is convenience. If something's too much trouble, I'm not going to bother. Even if it's very important, even if it could change my life in a very important way, you know, like exercise, like eating properly, right? But if it's too much trouble, you know, I like the McDonald's knows what I like, right? Why? Because all you have to do is drive up. You don't even have to get out of your car, you know, to eat that garbage. So waking up, meditation is about waking up. It's about discovering that in your everyday normal state of mind, and when I say state of mind, I mean mind, that you're living in a state of mind. In your everyday normal state of mind, you're living in an erotic reality. You're living in a world of thinking. You're living in a world of feelings. You're living in a world in which the governing machinery, the brain and the mind and the conditioning, that governing machinery is constantly running and having you chase after things that feel good and look good and offer you something, offer you comfort, offer you relief, offer you security. So the machine is constantly running to have you chase all that and then run away from pain, run away from inconvenience, run away from confusion, run away from anything that doesn't feel good. So your life is about this, pushing and pulling all day long, pushing and pulling. I want this, I don't want that. I want that, I don't want this. You know, that and the monkey mind, that the mind's jumping all over the place all day long, past, future, like that. So that's the craziness that we call a human life. And the ancient teachers and the ancient practitioners discovered that there's a possibility to come out of that by sitting still and being silent and starting to learn about your true nature, starting to find out that who I am, if I ask you who you are, the only answer you can possibly give me is what you think, right? Where else are you going to get an answer? You're going to tell me what you think, right? But what if who you are can't be thought of? What if who you are is not a thought? You know, what if who you are is only an experience and it can't be thought of? And if that's the case and you never get beyond thinking, you will never know who you are. The ancient teachers realized that who you and I are is not a thought. Who you and I are is an experience, right? And who you and I are is always here and always available. We're here, right? So whatever we are must be here, right? Because we're here, right? And so if that's the case, and whatever we are is here, then through meditation we're paying attention in such a way where we can come to discover that. We can, because we're practicing moving attention away from thinking all the time, over here where there's no thinking, but there is what? Awareness. Awareness. Okay, so the discovery is that what I am without thought is awareness. What I am without thought, that which is always here, never not here, is the awareness. And how do I know that's my real nature? Because if that goes, the lights are out. If your awareness goes, you're not here. You could get a head injury and have total amnesia and not remember your name. That happens. People don't remember the name. They have no idea about who they are. They have no personal history at all. This actually happens if you get a head injury. But even though you don't know who you are and you don't remember your name, you're still aware of reality in a general sense, okay? But if that awareness stops, that's it, right? We call that death, right? If the awareness stops, it's over, right? One of the things that's possible to discover through the practice of meditation is that the awareness is a constant. The awareness didn't come and it doesn't go. The body was born and the body dies, but the awareness didn't come and the awareness doesn't go. How do you know that? You know that by direct experience, because if you pay attention to the awareness, right now, the awareness is here for all of us, yes? If you look at the awareness, now most of us go through their entire life without ever looking at it, but if you look at the awareness, which you get to do when you practice meditation, you can actually see things about the awareness. For example, if you look at the awareness, if you look at your awareness right now and ask yourself as you're looking, did this start? When I look at my awareness, do you see a beginning, that it started? Do you see an end to it? If you look at your awareness, what you see is it's here. It is. It's actually called isness by some teachers. It is. It's here. You can't see any beginning. You can't see any end to it. Does it have a form? No form. Does it have a gender? No gender. How old is it? No age. Oh, so this is starting to get interesting because remember, this is you. This is you. Now you're looking at yourself and you're realizing what you are is not physical. It doesn't exist in time. It only happens in the present moment. It has no form. It's not going anywhere. It didn't come from anywhere. And it's not trying to do anything. It has no desires. It doesn't even think. It has no emotions. Doesn't need anything. Doesn't want anything. That's what they call satisfaction, right? Not needing or wanting anything. Satisfaction, right? Right? Being present in such a way where your experience of being present is self-satisfying. Your experience of presence is self-satisfying. Your experience of being present allows you to experience spontaneous happiness. One of the ways that you can tell that meditation is working, if you practice meditation consistently, you start having unexpected periods of happiness that don't make any sense, you know? Usually the way happiness works for people is I have to do something to be happy, or I have to get something to be happy. But if you practice meditation consistently, you start having these experiences of being happy, and there's no reason for it. You didn't get anything you wanted. You know, you're just happy. Yeah, and that's the experience of the natural state. The natural state is just happy. Why is it just happy? It's just happy because it's experienced its existence as a miracle. Do you understand? Human beings don't ever stop and look at their existence and understand the miraculousness of their existence. You know, your awareness, the awareness that's occurring right now, you don't know what it is, do you? You don't know what it is. It's happening, right? And when and as it happens, it's something that allows the world to show up, doesn't it? Yeah, it allows the world to show up. Not only does it allow the world to show up, but given the fact that you have language, right? Language allows you to literally have that world show up in a conceptual way, doesn't it? Language is when you speak in language, you're using concepts. And by having language, when you look at the world, you see a conceptual reality that you could speak about it with words. You could read about, right? You could speak about in words. So this experience of being alive becomes self-fulfilling. So I'm already fulfilled, I'm already satisfied, and through this practice I learned to relax. I can relax because if I'm not physical and I'm satisfied and I'm happy, why worry? You know, there's nothing to worry about. You can start to live your life in a completely different way, right? And you can start to deal with the challenges that life brings to you in a way that allows you to have skillful means, that you can respond to life instead of react to life, that you can enjoy life instead of be afraid of life, you know, that you can see life as an opportunity instead of a threat. And then the other thing, and this is why I wrote the book, you know, I wrote 2 books during this class. The first book is called Enlightenment Made Easy, right? And that book was inspired by the work of Douglas Harding, you know, who came up with a way of having a direct experience of awareness. And he came up with different experiments that you can do where you can experience your awareness in many different ways. So that's what that book was about. And then the second book that I wrote is called Dying to Live. And that book is really focused on recognizing that you are not who you think you are. Meditation allows you to see directly for yourself that you are not who you think you are. When you discover yourself as awareness itself, right? Who did you think you were before that, you see? Who did you think you were before you discovered that you were awareness? And you probably still think you're that a lot of the time, right? You think you're this physical body, right? You think you're the personality that somebody gave a name to when you were a baby. You think you're that personality. And you think that you're all of what that personality involves. You know, it has a history, it's got a story to tell, right? It's got a particular unique character about it. You know, that's me, that's you, right? Like that. Well, you discover that that's not actually true. It's not actually true. What do I mean by that? Well, because it doesn't actually exist. That personality doesn't actually exist. It got learned. It got learned. And if you got a head injury, you could lose the whole thing. So how real is it, right? Yeah, so you discover that you are not a personality. You discover that you are something way beyond a personality called awareness itself. And because you discover that, you realize that you need not continue to live your life as this character that you thought you were, that has limitations, that's neurotic, that has fears, that has patterns of behavior, right? You don't have to keep living your life in that limited way anymore. You can now allow yourself, when you're meditating, to have access to the beyond, have access to the limitless awareness that has wisdom, that has unlimited information. Einstein reported that he didn't come up with the theory of relativity, that it came to him when he was open and receptive. He was a very spiritual person, Einstein was. He didn't talk about it a lot until his writings about that until after he was dead, because he was a scientist, and if you talk about that stuff to other scientists, they get upset, right? Because everything has to be scientific and measurable, right? But he knew better, and he realized that, you know, through his being open and receptive to what's beyond the thinking mind, he was able to have a download of the theory of relativity.